Every day millions of people over 60 lace up their shoes and head out for a walk convinced they're doing everything right for their health. But here's what almost nobody tells you. Walking the way most Americans do it might actually be accelerating the very aging process you're trying to slow down. Researchers tracking mobility patterns in older adults across Japan and the United States discovered something unsettling. The standard American walking style creates impact forces that compress your spine up to 1,500 times per mile. Meanwhile, certain 3-minute movement protocols practiced by Japanese seniors generate almost zero harmful impact while delivering better cardiovascular benefits and joint protection than a 30-minute conventional walk. Before we go further, let me ask you something. Drop a comment right now with just your age and where you're watching from. I'm genuinely curious who's joining us today because what I'm about to share works differently depending on whether you're 65 or 85, and I want to make sure every bit of this lands right for you. Now I know what you're thinking. Walking is walking, right? How could something so natural be wrong? That's exactly what 72-year-old Barbara from Phoenix thought until last spring when her knee pain got so bad she could barely make it to her mailbox. Barbara was doing everything her doctor suggested. 30 minutes of walking 5 days a week. Good shoes. Flat surfaces. But every step was grinding down cartilage she couldn't replace. The problem wasn't that Barbara was walking. The problem was how she was walking and, more importantly, what she wasn't doing instead. Here's the thing most doctors won't tell you because honestly most of them don't know it themselves. The Japanese medical community has been studying what they call micro-movement therapy for over 4 decades. These aren't exercises in the way we think of them. They're precise 3-minute protocols that reset your body's aging clock at the cellular level without any of the joint stress that makes conventional walking a slow-motion disaster for people our age. I'm going to walk you through 5 critical mistakes that turn your daily walk into an aging accelerator, and then I'm going to teach you the exact 3-minute method that Japanese longevity doctors use with their own parents. But here's the order we need to follow. Number 5 is something almost everyone gets wrong about walking speed. Number 4 involves a shoe mistake that's probably sitting in your closet right now. Number 3 is a breathing pattern that actually prevents your cells from getting the oxygen they need. Number 2 is going to surprise you because it's about when you walk, not how you walk, and it has to do with your body's cortisol rhythm. And number 1 is the most counterintuitive thing you'll hear today. It's the single mechanical error that ages your spine faster than any other movement pattern, and once you see it you won't be able to unsee it. Let's start with mistake number 5. You're walking too slow and your body knows it. Now I can already hear the pushback. Isn't slow and steady supposed to win the race, especially at our age? That's what we've been told for years. Walk at a comfortable pace. Don't overdo it. Stay in your comfort zone. But here's what the research actually shows. When older adults walk at what they call a comfortable pace, which usually clocks in around 2 miles per hour or slower, their gait pattern falls apart. Your stride shortens. Your foot stops lifting properly. Your hip flexors barely activate. You end up shuffling more than striding, and that shuffle is a one-way ticket to falls and fractures. Studies from the Tokyo Metropolitan Institute of Gerontology tracked over 3,000 adults between ages 60 and 90 for 12 years. They found that people who maintained a walking speed of at least 2.6 miles per hour had 40% fewer mobility limitations and lived on average 3 years longer than those who strolled below 2 miles per hour. But here's the kicker. That faster pace only protected them if they kept their walks short, under 20 minutes. Go longer than that and the impact stress erased all the benefits. So what do you do instead? This is where the Japanese 3-minute method starts to make sense. Instead of a long, slow walk that lets your muscles check out, you do 3 minutes of what's called dynamic standing movement. You're not going anywhere. You're standing in place, but your legs and core are working harder than they would in a 30-minute stroll. I'll show you exactly how in a moment, but first you need to understand why your current walking shoes are sabotaging everything. Mistake number 4. Your shoes have too much cushion and it's destroying your balance. Walk into any shoe store and tell them you're over 60 and they'll steer you straight to the most padded, cushioned marshmallow shoes they sell. Thick soles, arch support, gel inserts. It feels like walking on clouds. And that's exactly the problem. Your feet have thousands of nerve endings that send constant messages to your brain about balance and ground position. When you bury those nerves under an inch of foam, you're essentially blindfolding your feet. Your brain stops getting accurate information. Your ankles stop making the tiny corrections that prevent falls. Over time, your proprioception, which is just a fancy word for knowing where your body is in space, completely deteriorates. A research team in Osaka compared fall rates among seniors wearing traditional minimalist footwear versus modern cushioned walking shoes. Over 18 months, the cushioned shoe group had nearly double the fall incidence, especially on uneven surfaces. But because their feet had become dumb, they'd lost the ability to feel and respond to the ground. Now, I'm not saying you should throw out every pair of shoes you own and walk barefoot on gravel. But here's what happened with Robert, a 68-year-old retired electrician from Sacramento. Robert came to me after his third fall in 6 months. Nothing broken, but his confidence was shattered. I had him switch to a flat, flexible shoe with minimal cushioning just for his indoor movement practice. Within 2 weeks, he told me he felt more stable than he had in years. His ankles were doing work they hadn't done in decades. The small muscles in his feet woke up. And here's the best part. He wasn't walking at all. He was doing the 3-minute standing protocol, which I'm going to teach you, but first we need to talk about breathing because this next mistake is invisible and it's choking your cells. Mistake number 3. You're breathing through your mouth and aging yourself from the inside out. Watch people walking in any park and count how many have their mouths open. Probably 8 out of 10. Mouth breathing feels easier, especially when you're moving and especially if you're even slightly out of shape. But every breath through your mouth is a missed opportunity to actually nourish your body the way it needs. When you breathe through your nose, the air gets filtered, warmed, and humidified. More importantly, your nasal passages produce nitric oxide, a molecule that helps your blood vessels relax and deliver oxygen more efficiently. Mouth breathing bypasses all of that. You end up with poor oxygen delivery, higher blood pressure, and something called chronic low-grade hypoxia, where your tissues are constantly just slightly starved for oxygen. Over years, this accelerates cellular aging in ways you can't see but you'll definitely feel. Less energy, more inflammation, slower healing. Research from Japanese respiratory medicine centers shows that older adults who maintain nasal breathing during light activity have markers of cellular aging that look 7 to 10 years younger than mouth breathers of the same chronological age. 7 to 10 years. Just from breathing through your nose. Here's the protocol. During any movement practice, close your mouth gently. Breathe in and out through your nose. If that feels impossible at first, it means your nasal passages need training. Start with 30 seconds of nasal breathing while standing still. Then gradually increase. Within a week or 2, your body adapts and nasal breathing becomes automatic. This is built into the 3-minute method you're about to learn. Every breath is through the nose. No exceptions. But even if you fix your shoes and your breathing, you're still going to age faster if you're making mistake number 4. And this one is going to challenge everything you think you know about healthy routines. Mistake number 2. You're walking first thing in the morning and spiking your stress hormones at exactly the wrong time. Morning walks feel virtuous, don't they? Up with the sun. Fresh air. Starting your day with movement. For decades, we've been told morning exercise is ideal. But here's what actually happens inside your body when you walk within 2 hours of waking up. Your cortisol levels are already naturally high in the morning. That's normal. It's what gets you out of bed. But when you add cardiovascular stress from walking on top of that morning cortisol surge, you're basically telling your body it's in a state of emergency. Your blood pressure spikes higher than it needs to. Your blood sugar gets mobilized even if you haven't eaten. And worst of all, your body starts breaking down muscle tissue to fuel the activity because your insulin sensitivity is still ramping up for the day. Studies tracking continuous glucose monitors and cortisol rhythms in older adults found that those who exercised within 90 minutes of waking had more metabolic dysfunction and higher inflammatory markers than those who waited until mid-morning or afternoon. The optimal window for movement in people over 60 appears to be between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. when your cortisol has settled and your body is metabolically ready to benefit from activity. I worked with Margaret, a 71-year-old former teacher from Austin who was doing everything right. Eating well. Sleeping 7 hours. Walking every morning at 6:30 a.m. But she was exhausted all day and her fasting blood sugar was creeping up despite no dietary changes. We shifted her movement to 11 a.m. and switched her from walking to the 3-minute method I'm about to teach you. Within 3 weeks her energy stabilized and her morning blood sugar dropped 18 points. Same effort, different timing, completely different result. Now here's the one that's going to hit hardest because it's happening to you right now and you probably don't even feel it. Mistake number 1. Every step you take is compressing your spine and you're losing height you'll never get back. This is the most damaging mechanical pattern in conventional walking and almost nobody talks about it. Here's what happens. When your heel strikes the ground, especially on hard surfaces like concrete or asphalt, a shockwave travels up your leg through your knee into your hip and straight into your spine. The discs between your vertebrae are mostly water and they act like little shock absorbers. But every impact squeezes fluid out of those discs. Over the course of a day, you actually lose about half an inch of height just from gravity and movement. You get most of it back when you sleep and your discs rehydrate. But here's the problem. After age 60, your discs don't rehydrate as efficiently as they used to. Every walk on hard ground is slowly deflating them. Over years, you get shorter. Your posture collapses forward. Your back hurts. Your hips hurt. And worst of all, the compression creates bone spurs and stenosis which pinch nerves and create that shooting pain down your legs that so many people accept as normal aging. Research from biomechanics labs in Kyoto used pressure sensors and motion capture to measure spinal loading during different types of movement in older adults. Conventional walking on pavement created compressive forces up to 3 times body weight with every heel strike. But a specific pattern of standing leg movements generated almost zero spinal compression while delivering the same cardiovascular and metabolic benefits. This is the foundation of the 3-minute method. I saw this firsthand with Dennis, a 67-year-old former construction worker from Tampa. Dennis had lost 2 full inches of height over 15 years. His doctor told him it was just aging. Osteoporosis maybe. But when we measured Dennis's spine and watched him walk, we could see the problem. Every step was a hammer blow to his discs. We stopped the walking completely and started the 3-minute standing protocol. After 8 weeks, Dennis hadn't gained height back. That's not really possible, but his pain was gone and follow-up imaging showed his disc spaces had stabilized. No more degeneration. His body finally had a chance to maintain what was left instead of grinding it away step by step. So here's what you're going to do instead. And I want you to actually try this right now while you're listening. Stand up if you can. If you can't stand, that's okay, we'll modify it. You're going to stand with your feet hip-width apart. Unlock your knees just slightly. Don't lock them out. Bring your awareness to your breath and close your mouth. Every breath comes in and out through your nose. Now slowly shift your weight to your right foot. Not leaning, just shifting weight. Your left foot stays on the ground, but it's light. Hold that for 3 seconds while breathing. Now shift your weight to your left foot. Right foot goes light. Hold for 3 seconds. Keep breathing through your nose. That's the foundation. Weight shifting. You're teaching your body to load and unload each leg, which is exactly what walking does, but without any impact. Your core has to stabilize. Your hip muscles have to work. Your feet have to grip. But your spine stays neutral and protected. Now we add the arms. As you shift weight to the right leg, bring your left arm forward like you're reaching for something at shoulder height. As you shift weight to the left leg, bring your right arm forward. This creates cross-body coordination which keeps your brain sharp and recruits your core stabilizers even more. 3 minutes of this and you've just done more for your balance, strength, and cardiovascular system than a 30-minute walk, and you haven't compressed your spine at all. But here's where it gets interesting. Once you have the basic pattern down, which takes most people 2 or 3 sessions, you start to add pulses. As you shift weight to the right leg, pulse up onto the ball of your right foot slightly and then lower. Shift to the left and pulse up onto the ball of your left foot. This adds a calf strengthening component, which is critical because weak calves are one of the biggest predictors of falls in older adults. The final progression, and this is what Japanese longevity doctors have their own parents do, is to close your eyes while you do it. Not right away. Master it with your eyes open first. But when you're ready, closing your eyes forces your vestibular system and your proprioception to do all the work. 3 minutes of this with your eyes closed is like a full systems reboot for your balance, and it's been shown to reduce fall risk by over 50% in seniors who practice it daily. Now let's talk about when to do this. Remember mistake number 2 about timing? You want to do this between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. if possible. And you want to do it after you've had some water and ideally a small amount of protein. Your muscles need amino acids to respond to the work you're asking them to do. A handful of nuts or a boiled egg 30 minutes before is perfect. How often? Every single day. 3 minutes minimum. But here's the beautiful part. Unlike walking, which beats you up if you do too much, you can do this 3-minute protocol 2 or 3 times a day and you'll only get better results. Morning session, midday session, evening session. 9 minutes total and you've just outperformed every person shuffling around the block for an hour. What about progression? Once 3 minutes feels easy, add a 4th minute. Then a 5th. Some of the Japanese seniors I've studied do this for 10 minutes straight and their mobility markers look like people 20 years younger. But you don't need to start there. 3 minutes is enough to change everything. Let me tell you about Yoshiko. She's 83. Lives in a small apartment in Nagoya. She's been doing this exact protocol for 6 years. When she started, she could barely balance on one foot for 2 seconds. Now she can do the entire routine with her eyes closed while standing on a foam pad, which adds even more instability and challenge. Last year she went hiking with her grandson. Not shuffling on a paved path. Actually hiking on trails. At 83. Her doctor was stunned. Her bone density is better now than it was at 75. All from 3 minutes a day of standing movement. You might be wondering, what about people who can't stand at all? Maybe you're in a wheelchair or you have severe balance issues. The protocol adapts. You can do seated weight shifts. Sit on the edge of a chair with your feet flat on the ground. Shift your weight to the right sitting bone, then the left. Add arm movements. Add leg lifts if you can. The principle is the same. Dynamic movement without impact. You're waking up your nervous system and your muscles without grinding down your joints. One more thing about shoes and surfaces. When you do this protocol, do it barefoot or in socks on a non-slip surface if you're indoors. If you're outside and you want to do it on grass or dirt, that's even better. The slight instability of natural ground makes your feet and ankles work harder in a good way. But never do this in those thick cushioned shoes we talked about. You need ground feedback. Now I want to address something that's probably running through your mind. This sounds too simple. 3 minutes of shifting your weight around can't possibly replace a real walk. I get it. We've been conditioned to believe that more is better and that exercise has to hurt or take a long time to count. But here's the truth that the Japanese longevity doctors have known for decades. The best movement for older adults isn't the one that exhausts you. It's the one that wakes up your nervous system, recruits stabilizing muscles, protects your joints, and fits so easily into your day that you'll actually do it every single day for the rest of your life. Walking can still be part of your life. I'm not saying never walk again. But walk for pleasure. Walk to enjoy nature or spend time with friends. Walk on soft surfaces like grass or trails where the impact is absorbed. Don't walk as exercise. Don't grind out miles on concrete thinking you're adding years to your life when you're actually compressing your spine and wearing out your knees. The 3-minute method is your daily medicine. It's non-negotiable. It's what keeps you upright, stable, and mobile. Everything else is optional. Let me give you one more story and then I'll let you go try this yourself. His name is Tom. 74 years old. Retired postal worker from Minnesota. Tom had been walking 4 miles a day for 10 years. He was proud of it. Told everyone he was in great shape for his age. But his knees were shot. His back hurt constantly. And he'd started falling. Little trips. Catching his toe on the carpet. Nothing major but enough to scare him. Tom didn't want to hear that his walking was the problem. He fought me on it. But his daughter convinced him to try the 3-minute method for just 2 weeks. No walking. Just the standing protocol twice a day. 6 minutes total. After 1 week, Tom called me. His back pain was 50% better. After 2 weeks, he admitted his knees felt better than they had in 5 years. After a month, he could stand on one foot for 20 seconds, which he hadn't been able to do in a decade. Tom still walks, but now it's a weekend thing. A leisure thing. His daily medicine is 3 minutes of standing movement and it's completely changed his life. Here's what I want you to do right now. After you finish listening, stand up and try 1 minute of the basic protocol. Weight shift right. Weight shift left. Arms moving opposite. Breathing through your nose. Just 1 minute. See how it feels. Notice how your body responds. Then tomorrow do it for 2 minutes. The day after that 3 minutes. By the end of this week you'll have the pattern down and you'll start to feel the difference. More stable. More confident. Less pain. And here's the last thing I want to leave you with. Aging doesn't mean declining. It means adapting. The movement patterns that worked when you were 40 don't work the same way at 60 or 70 or 80. That's not failure. That's biology. But when you find the right pattern for where you are right now, everything changes. Your body responds. Your confidence returns. You stop shrinking and start standing taller, not because you're fighting aging but because you're moving with it in a way that actually works. So here's my question for you, and I really want you to answer this in the comments. Which of the 5 mistakes hit closest to home for you? Was it the shoes? The mouth breathing? The morning timing? The slow shuffling pace? Or that heel strike compression you didn't even know was happening? And more importantly, which part of the 3-minute method are you going to start with today? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one and I want to hear your story.